A grandmother spent 3 days in federal detention because she answered one customs question wrong. Her mistake? She said no when asked about carrying packages for someone else, but forgot about the small bag of coffee her vacation friend asked her to deliver. Inside that innocent-looking bag was nearly 2 kilograms of cocaine. She faced federal trafficking charges and spent over $40,000 proving she didn't know. One question, one wrong answer, and her life changed forever. In 2026, customs and immigration officers at every major airport are asking 13 specific questions designed to catch you in contradictions, lies, and inconsistencies. These aren't casual conversations. Every word you say becomes a sworn statement that officers will verify against your luggage, your phone, your travel history, and government databases. Answer wrong, and you're not just delayed. You could be detained for hours, denied entry entirely, or worse, face criminal charges that follow you for life. What makes 2026 different? New biometric screening systems, expanded device search authority, and stricter vetting protocols mean officers have more tools than ever to catch discrepancies. The questions sound simple, but each one has hidden traps that most travelers never see coming. By the time you reach question 8, you'll understand why telling the complete truth can actually make things worse. And by question 1, the question a retired border agent calls the trap question designed to catch 90% of travelers in a contradiction, you'll realize that smooth passage through customs isn't about luck. It's about knowing exactly what these questions really mean and how to answer them without triggering red flags. Let's break down all 13 questions, starting with the one that creates more problems than any other. Question 13. What is the purpose of your visit? This seems straightforward. You're visiting family, you're here for business, you're a tourist. Simple, right? Wrong. This question establishes the legal basis for your entire entry, and one wrong word can trigger investigations that turn a 5-minute interaction into a 5-hour nightmare. Here's what actually happens when you answer this question. Officers match your response against your visa type, your luggage contents, your online presence, and every previous entry you've ever made. If you say tourism but your laptop contains business presentations, that's visa fraud. If you mention attending a conference while holding a tourist visa, you've just admitted to business activity that requires a different authorization. A business consultant learned this the expensive way. He had a tourist visa but casually mentioned he might attend a networking event while in town. That triggered 4 hours of secondary screening where officers searched his devices, examined his emails, and questioned whether he was planning to work illegally. His casual comment transformed a routine entry into an interrogation about his intentions, employment status, and every detail of his trip. The rule is brutally simple. Match your answer exactly to your visa type. Tourist visa? Say tourism. Nothing more. Business visa? Say business meetings. Don't elaborate, don't add details, don't try to be helpful. Additional information gives officers more material to investigate, more threads to pull, more reasons to detain you. But here's where it gets interesting. Officers aren't just listening to your words, they're watching how you say them. Hesitation signals uncertainty. Over-explaining suggests you're hiding something. Contradicting yourself proves you're lying. Your answer needs to be immediate, confident, and exactly aligned with your documentation. Question 12. How long will you be staying? Now we move to duration. Officers aren't making small talk here. They're verifying you're not planning to overstay your authorized period. And here's the trap that catches thousands of travelers every year. Your answer must match your return ticket exactly. Say you're staying 1 week, but your return flight is in 3 weeks. Red flag. Officers assume you're lying about either your intentions or your plans. You'll spend the next 30 minutes explaining the discrepancy, providing proof of your itinerary, and convincing them you're not planning to disappear into the country. Give specific dates or duration, 10 days, 2 weeks, until March 15th. Never say, I'm not sure, or as long as I want, or it depends how I feel. Vague answers suggest you don't have a departure plan, which immediately raises overstay concerns. Officers see vague answers as evidence you might be planning to stay illegally. Bring proof. Printed return tickets, hotel reservations showing checkout dates, event tickets demonstrating your departure timeline. You probably won't need them, but having them accessible shows you're organized, prepared, and genuinely planning to leave. One tourist said, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, depends on how I feel, and triggered 30 minutes of questions about financial means, ties to home country, and immigration intentions. Question 11. Where will you be staying? This question verifies you have accommodation and aren't planning to vanish. Provide a specific address, hotel name and city, relative's full address, Airbnb location with confirmation number. I'm figuring it out is an automatic secondary screening trigger. Here's what officers look for. Consistency. If you're visiting family but mention a hotel downtown, that raises questions. Why aren't you staying with family? Are you actually visiting them, or is that a cover story? If you claim to be a wealthy tourist but can't name where you're staying, that's deeply suspicious. One traveler said, "My friend's place, I don't remember the exact address," which led to a phone call to the friend, verification of their relationship, and questions about how well they actually knew each other. 30 minutes of interrogation over a preventable mistake. Save addresses in your phone notes before landing. Have hotel confirmations accessible. If staying with someone, have their contact information ready and know their full name and address. This isn't paranoia. It's preparation that prevents problems. Question 10. Have you visited any farms or been around livestock? This seems random. It's actually critical for agricultural biosecurity, and lying has serious consequences. If you visited a farm, ranch, or animal facility abroad, you must declare it. Your shoes and luggage may carry diseases that could devastate agriculture. Here's the trap travelers fall into. They think saying yes guarantees luggage searches and delays, so they lie. But customs has detection systems. If your shoes have soil residue or your bags contain manure traces and you said no to this question, you've now committed a federal violation. The penalty for knowingly false agricultural declarations can reach $10,000 in fines and entry denial. One traveler visited a farm in Ireland, lied about it, and was caught when his hiking boots tested positive for soil. He paid $1,500 in fines and missed his connecting flight. If you visited farms, say so. The inspection takes 5 extra minutes. Lying risks everything. The biosecurity concern is real. African swine fever, foot and mouth disease, and other agricultural threats can devastate entire industries if imported through contaminated clothing or equipment. Officers take this question seriously because the economic impact of an outbreak would be catastrophic. Question 9. Are you carrying more than $10,000 in currency? Federal law requires declaring currency or monetary instruments exceeding $10,000. This includes cash, traveler's checks, and bearer bonds from all travelers in your group combined. The threshold is cumulative, which catches many families. If you have $6,000 and your spouse has $5,000, that's $11,000 total, requiring declaration. Many couples don't realize this and face penalties. Here's what happens if you lie. Currency seizure, federal investigation, and potential criminal charges. Customs has detection equipment and trained cash-sniffing dogs. One family of 4 each carried $3,000, $12,000 total. They didn't declare it because individually they were under the limit. Customs seized the entire amount and required legal proceedings to recover it months later. Declaration doesn't prevent you from bringing money. It's just paperwork. Lying forfeits the money and creates criminal liability. And here's what travelers don't understand. There's no fee or tax for declaring. You fill out a form, answer a few questions about the source of funds, and you're done. The requirement exists to combat money laundering and terrorism financing, not to punish legitimate travelers. But fail to declare, and authorities assume it's criminal proceeds. Question 8. What is your occupation? This cross-references against your stated purpose and visa type. Inconsistencies trigger investigations. If you're a photographer on a tourist visa, saying photographer might trigger questions about whether you're working. Say, I work in marketing or whatever your primary employment is that isn't related to your trip purpose. Customs assumes anyone with portable skills, writers, consultants, photographers, programmers, might work illegally while abroad. If your occupation matches activities you might do during your trip, expect follow-up questions. One freelance writer said her occupation was writer while entering on a tourist visa. She spent an hour proving she wasn't being paid for any writing during her trip. Her laptop was searched for contracts or client communications. The safer approach, describe your occupation in generic terms unless directly asked for specifics. I work in communications instead of freelance journalist. Question 7. Do you have anything to declare? This is the customs trap question. Nothing is often the wrong answer. Items requiring declaration include gifts exceeding $800 value, alcohol over 1 liter, tobacco products over 200 cigarettes, commercial goods, food items, plants, medications, and anything you're bringing for someone else. Here's what travelers miss. Items you bought abroad for personal use still require declaration if they exceed duty-free allowances. That $200 watch you bought in Switzerland? Declarable. Those 5 bottles of wine? Declarable. The penalty for false declaration is seizure of items, fines up to 3 times the item's value, and potential criminal charges. One traveler bought a $2,000 handbag in Paris, didn't declare it, and was caught during random screening. The bag was seized and she paid $3,500 in penalties. When in doubt, declare it. The worst outcome of declaring something you didn't need to is a 2-minute conversation. The worst outcome of not declaring something you should have is thousands in penalties. Question 6. Has anyone given you anything to bring to the destination country? The correct answer is always no, and you should make sure that's actually true before answering. This question targets unwitting drug or contraband mules. Smugglers give unsuspecting travelers packages to carry, claiming it's a gift or documents for a business partner. Here's the law. You're legally responsible for everything in your possession, regardless of who gave it to you. If someone hands you a package to deliver and it contains contraband, you face federal trafficking charges. A retired customs officer explained they see this constantly. Nice elderly people carrying packages for friends they met on vacation. The package has drugs. They say, "I didn't know." But ignorance isn't a defense. They're charged with smuggling. Never carry anything for someone else. Never. No exceptions. Even if it seems innocent. Even if you trust the person. Even if it's sealed and looks legitimate. This is non-negotiable. Question 5. Have you been to specific countries recently? Officers ask about recent travel to high-risk countries for disease, terrorism, or smuggling. Your answer is cross-checked against your passport stamps. Be honest. They can see your passport. Lying destroys your credibility and triggers intensive investigation. Travelers think admitting to certain countries guarantees problems, so they lie. But officers understand legitimate travel to these places. What they can't tolerate is dishonesty. One businessman visited Dubai with a day trip to Iran for meetings. When asked about recent travel, he omitted Iran. The officer saw the Iranian stamp and immediately escalated to secondary screening. What could have been a 5-minute explanation became 2 hours of interrogation about why he lied. Question 4. Are you traveling alone? This screens for trafficking, smuggling networks, and immigration fraud. Answer truthfully and consistently. The trap is if you're meeting someone significant, romantic partner, business associate, family, and you don't disclose it up front. One woman said she was traveling alone for tourism, but her luggage contained a wedding dress. Secondary screening revealed she was meeting her fiancé to get married. Visa fraud. She was denied entry and banned from the country for 5 years. Question 3. What do you do for work? Follow-up. This is the deep dive version asked during secondary screening when officers suspect unauthorized work. They're checking if your occupation matches your visa, stated purpose, and financial means. Inconsistencies suggest you're entering to work illegally. One software developer entered on a tourist visa to visit friends. His laptop was searched and revealed emails about job interviews with companies in that country. He was denied entry and his tourist visa was revoked. "I wasn't working, just interviewing," he protested. It didn't matter. He used a tourist visa for business purposes. Question 2. Can I see your phone? This is the question travelers fear most. Customs and Border Protection has legal authority to search electronic devices at the border without warrants. This includes phones, laptops, tablets, and storage devices. You can refuse, but that typically results in denied entry for non-citizens or hours of detention for citizens. They're looking for evidence of unauthorized work, visa fraud, trafficking, smuggling communications, or terrorism connections. They search messages, photos, social media, and emails. One traveler had text messages discussing bringing packages across the border for payment. It was innocuous. She was being paid to bring legal items for a friend's business, but the language suggested smuggling. She spent 6 hours in detention while agents verified everything was legal. Before international travel, clean your devices. Delete anything that could be misinterpreted. Jokes about contraband, messages discussing work if you're on a tourist visa, photos from locations that contradict your stated travel history. And never lie about your device contents. If asked, "Do you have anything questionable on your phone?" and you say no, but they find something suspicious, you've now lied to a federal officer. Question 1. Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a crime? And here's the #1 question, the one with the most severe consequences for dishonesty. The law requires disclosing any arrests or convictions, even if charges were dropped, expunged, or occurred decades ago. Even minor offenses, DUI, shoplifting, disorderly conduct, must be disclosed. Here's the trap that destroys people. They think it was expunged so it doesn't count, or it was 30 years ago so they won't know. Wrong. Immigration databases contain arrest records regardless of disposition. If you say no and they find records, you've committed immigration fraud. The penalty for lying: permanent entry ban, visa revocation, and potential criminal charges for making false statements to federal officers. One traveler lied about a 20-year-old DUI conviction. Border agents found it in seconds. He was denied entry and banned for life. The honest answer might trigger questions and additional screening, but it's legal. Lying is a federal crime that follows you forever. Immigration law doesn't care about dismissals. Dishonesty about criminal history creates worse problems than the arrest itself. The truth about all 13 questions. Here's what ties everything together. Customs and immigration officers are trained to detect deception, not to facilitate your entry. Every question is designed to catch inconsistencies, lies, or grounds for denial. The system assumes you're hiding something until proven otherwise. Your job is to provide clear, consistent, honest answers that give them no reason to dig deeper. One contradiction, one lie, one evasive answer, and you're flagged for intensive screening that ruins your trip. Because one wrong response isn't just an inconvenience. It could be the difference between walking through customs in 5 minutes or spending 5 hours proving you're not a threat. The choice is yours, but now you know what's really at stake every time you approach that immigration counter.